Thank you so much. You know, before I get started, I'm from Ohio, and my district, got some Buckeyes in the house? But someone else is in Ohio right now, landing on a plane, flying in a plane, landing in Ohio, for a special election that we have just outside of Columbus. And the president, before he got to Ohio, he thought it would be a good idea to continue his race baiting that we've experienced for so long now against LeBron James. Now, just 2 days ago, LeBron James announced that he was going to donate $41 million to a school in Akron, Ohio, that was going to make sure these kids got good food, that they got sneakers, that they got a bicycle so they could make their way through neighborhoods in case they were in trouble, to make sure their parents got a GED and some training if they needed it. $41 million. And that every kid that graduated from this school was going to have their tuition paid for at the University of Akron. And the president called them dumb. And Don Lemon, who was also caught up in getting called dumb, had the best tweet ever. He said, "Who's dumb? The person who spends $41 million trying to build a school to put kids in, or someone who has cages built to put kids in?" I'm with LeBron James. And we're not going to let you come to Ohio, President Trump, and do your race baiting and make your racial statements against people in Ohio or anywhere across the country, whether it's LeBron James or Maxine Waters or anybody else. That ain't playing anymore, President Trump. So I want to tell you a couple quick stories from Ohio. Periodically, I'll go to a city council person in one of my cities, and I'll get a tour, and I'll say, "Take me to the toughest neighborhood. Take me to where the most challenge lies." And so a few months back, I had a council person take me into a tough ward in the city of Youngstown. And he said, you know, we went around, he said, you got to come see my friend, Mrs. Duke. And so we pulled in the driveway, and she didn't know I was coming. And this was a neighborhood that had some crime, had some gangs. We have a huge opiate issue in Ohio. And we pulled into the driveway, and there were some dilapidated homes around. And here comes Mrs. Duke. She has a spray bottle in her hand. And he introduced me, and I said, hi, Mrs. Duke. Tim Ryan, nice to meet you. I said, "What are you doing?" She says, "I'm spraying for ants." I said, "Wow, okay." So her son comes around the back. He has paint on his arm. Mrs. Duke's probably 75 years old or so. Her son comes, he got paint on. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm painting the door." I said, "Wow." We go in the house, and it's an older house. It's probably, you know, it's been there a long time. She's lived in it her whole life when the neighborhood was thriving. And we sit down, and it would remind you of maybe your grandparents' house where it was impeccable. Beautiful mantel, fireplace, antiques. And we sat there and we talked about her challenges and what has happened to this neighborhood in Youngstown, Ohio. And she talked about trying to get the house fixed up, and then she talked about trying to move because she couldn't go outside at night and have a cup of coffee because the neighborhood got pretty dangerous. And I said, "Well, so what happened?" And she said, "I had my son look it up, if I could sell the house and maybe get something somewhere else." You know how much she could sell that house for? $4,000. $4,000. That woman is trapped in that neighborhood. And there are millions of Americans in the same situation. These issues aren't in a particular geographical location in the United States. These issues are everywhere. I spent 7 hours in an ICE facility with a friend of mine who has been in this country for 39 years, was Palestinian, and after being there 7 hours with his wife, he had a business in Youngstown, he had a family he sent to Catholic schools there, a beautiful human being. Right in front of our very eyes, they ripped him away from us, put him in a jail for 2 weeks, and sent him back to Jordan. This is happening everywhere across the United States. We have auto workers for General Motors that just got laid off their second shift. They're getting separated from their families because their families are established in one community, but they got to now go find another General Motors facility to go work in. These systems, my friends, are all broken. The corporate stranglehold on our economy has broken the systems across the board. And so we have to fix it. And here's the challenge to us, is to first understand these broken systems. The economic system that's broken, where the top 1% gets 90% of all the new wealth generated, but that 60% of American families have to borrow money to make ends meet. And there are 50% of the people in the country that couldn't withstand a $400 emergency. The climate system is obviously broke. The healthcare system is broke. We spend 2.5 times as much as any other industrialized country. We get worse results. The education system is broke, where we're 34th in science and 19th in math and international standards. College debt is a huge problem for millions of Americans. College tuition costs are a problem for millions of Americans. Criminal justice issues for people of color, where African Americans are 5 times more likely to end up in prison for a low-level drug crime than a white person. That system is broke. The immigration system's obviously broke. The pension system's broke. Social security system's broke. The food system's broke. We got half of our American citizens that have either diabetes or pre-diabetes. And our agricultural system is broke. We have algae blooms in the Great Lakes, a dead zone at the mouth of the Mississippi River, and they tell us in Ohio you can only eat 2 fish a month out of the rivers in Ohio. Now, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but if I can't eat more than 2 fishes out of a river, I'm wondering why I would eat any fish out of that river. So what we need is what Mayor de Blasio said. We need a bold agenda. And you know what? That's going to mean we got to get in some fights, right? Now, I'm friends with Reverend Williams, and I like to meditate, but every now and again, you got to get in a fight. And I'm Irish, so there you have that. You know that old Irish saying? Is this a private fight, or can anyone get into it? So here's a quick rundown of what I think a bold agenda needs to look like. We've got to rewrite our trade agreements so that corporations aren't writing them. They're written for people here in the United States. While we're all for $15 wage, minimum wage, we've got to talk aspirationally and boldly. Our people want $30 or $40 or $50 an hour, not $15 an hour. We need a healthcare system that covers everybody, and that's why in 2007 I began the fight for Medicare for all in the United States of America. And we need to tell the business community that the best thing we could do for them is take the health care issue off the books so that they can focus on wages and pensions and investments and jobs here in the United States. We need to make sure we support tuition-free and debt-free college. If we could bail out the banks who did everything wrong, we can bail out students who have done everything right. We need criminal justice reform, and that starts with the legalization of marijuana in the United States of America. We need to expand Social Security so nobody in the United States that has worked hard and played by the rules and paid into a pension system ever has to live with economic insecurity in their later years. That is part of a bold progressive agenda as well. And we need comprehensive immigration reform, which includes taking care of dreamers here in the United States. And lastly, we've got to stop talking small ball on the environment. We've got to go big. And that means we stop talking about going carbon neutral. The United States needs to lead the world in reversing climate change. And we can do it. We can do it. With our technology, with our know-how, with regenerative agriculture, sustainable agriculture, we can begin to sequester carbon and create a new, bold, vibrant economy that brings jobs to coal country and steel country and rubber country. We can do this together. And so, my friends, as we move forward together, we need to remember a story that I heard about Muhammad Ali, the great humanitarian. And somebody grabbed Ali on the street one day, and they said, "Hey, champ, oh my God, I can't believe this is you." He said, yeah, it's me. He said, "I saw you fight." He goes, "Nice." He goes, the guy said, "I saw you get knocked down." And Ali looked at him and said, "Couldn't have been my fight." He goes, "No, it was your fight. I saw you. You got knocked down." And Ali looked at him and says, "I ain't never been knocked down." He said, "Well, nice shot." He said, "I've never been knocked down. I'm either up or I'm getting up." Well, the progressive movement is getting up, my friends. We're going to get up on climate change. We're going to get up on Medicare for all. We're going to get up on publicly financing the political campaigns in the United States. We're going to get up on getting rid of corporations. We're going to get up on getting rid of trade agreements. And we're going to get up on making sure that kids who want to get educated could do it without going bankrupt in the United States. Thank you so much.